following Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto's government. जब सदर ज़रदारी को मौका मिला, democracy was taking over from dictatorship. Terrorism was at its peak. पूरी दुनिया में बदतरीन financial recession था. You were crying over oil prices at $80 a barrel. We had to face oil prices at $147 a barrel. And despite all of this, we took revolutionary and reformist steps. We devolved power and resources to all the provinces. We for the first time, we provided an equitable and just NFC award. We gave Aghaze Huquq-e Balochistan. We introduced the revolutionary Benazir Income Support Program. And we brought Pakistan's exports to the highest in Pakistan's history. So Naya Pakistan ka pehli budget se, we had a lot of expectations. Because before the election, Khan Saab and his entire government-to-be stood before this nation and presented their 100-day plan. In this budget, we see no sign of this 100-day plan. Mr. Speaker, everyone is extremely disappointed. Not only the opposition, but the PTI voter is disappointed, Mr. Speaker. The PTI voter who voted for change in Tabdili, the voter who voted for Do Nahi Ek Pakistan, the voter that thought he was voting against the status quo, the voter that thought he was voting for a Naya Pakistan, that voter has got a status quo budget of Purana Pakistan. A budget that does not expand the tax net, a budget that provides relief to non-tax filers, to the land mafia, to middlemen, and not to the average Pakistani. Mr. Speaker, where is the 100-day plan? Where is the promised reformist agenda? Where is the promised revolution? We were promised 10 million jobs. Instead, we got a 250 billion rupee cut in the PSTP and a jihad against public sector employment. You are forcing people out of work, Mr. Speaker. We were promised Sehat ka Insaf. Instead, we got a 14 billion rupee cut in health spending. We were promised education for all. Instead, we got a 6 billion rupee cut in higher education spending. We were promised an agriculture emergency. Zaraat hamara maishat ka backbone hai. Gareeb kisan pis raha hai. Fasal ka sahi कीमत nahi mil raha. लेकिन इस बजट में गरीब किसान के लिए कुछ नहीं है. Fertilizer का जो subsidy है, the fertilizer subsidy will not be for the poor farmer. Out of a 7 billion rupee subsidy, 5 billion rupees are going straight into the pocket of the fertilizer companies. We were promised water conservation. And we got not a single scheme on water, Mr. Speaker. On top of that, IRSA has completely ignored the rights of the lower riparian and refused to implement the 1991 Water Accord, which is highly condemnable and objectionable for us, Mr. Speaker. Not only are you not addressing provincial disparity, we hear you plan to undermine the 18th Amendment. Let me be clear, Mr. Speaker, don't you dare. the Pakistan People's Party. The Pakistan People's Party will not allow this government to usurp the rights of the provinces. The Pakistan People's Party will not allow this government to undermine the federation, and will not allow this government to undermine the basic principles of the 1973 Constitution, come what may. We were told, Mr. Speaker, that there would be no begging bowl. We were told there would be no loans. We were told there would be no IMF. And look at what we got, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister goes to Saudi Arabia on his first trip, begging bowl in hand. Is it not true, Mr. Speaker, that the government is currently negotiating with the IMF? Why the secrecy? Why the lack of transparency? Why the lies? Will the finance minister deny that Naya Pakistan is going to Purana IMF? Because I can confirm, Mr. Speaker, that we will be going to the IMF. They will be going to the IMF. Mr. Speaker, this confusion does not end with the IMF. The immature, irresponsible statements that relate to CPEC are absolutely outrageous, and the people of Pakistan deserve clarity from the government, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Janab Speaker, amongst all this confusion that the government has created, does it realize that any corrective, reformative step will be in vain if we do not address the elephant in the room? And that is the issue of the FATF. Will the finance minister bother taking Parliament into confidence as to what progress has been made so far? The FATF team will be arriving this month. What steps have the government taken? What steps are we taking to ensure that we do not get added to the blacklist? Does the government even realize the consequences of not complying with the 27-point action plan given by FATF? All flow of money will be restricted and affected. Trading with Pakistan will become even more difficult. Our exports will be affected. Cost of doing business will be drastically affected. The problem, Mr. Speaker, the problem is that this government sees no need to brief Parliament. The lack of transparency screams of lack of accountability. Fraternizing with banned organizations, forming electoral alliances directly affects the image and standing of Pakistan, as does cabinet members secretly meeting with such people in prisons. This is utterly condemnable, Mr. Speaker. मैं ये हुकूमत को बताना चाहता हूं कि धरना देने में और हुकूमत चलाने में बहुत फर्क होता है. ये पार्लियामान है, कंटेनर नहीं. आपने अब सीरियस सियासत करनी है. आपने अब सीरियस पॉलिसी मेकिंग करनी है. आपने अब मुश्किल डिसीजंस लेने हैं और फिर उन फैसलों पर कायम रहने हैं. आपने यू टर्न नहीं लेना. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We want to work with the government in greater public interest. We want to see 10 million jobs, 5 million homes. We want to conserve water and boost our agriculture. We want to revitalize our industry and stabilize our economy. We want to provide healthcare for all and education to every Pakistani. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, despite all its tall claims, there is not one line in the finance bill that lives up to the promises made to the people of Pakistan. It is time that the government learn that this is not a game. Their decisions affect the lives of 200 million Pakistanis. मगर जनाब स्पीकर, कौन इस हुकूमत को समझाएगा कि मुल्क ऐसे नहीं चल सकता. मईशत चंदा से नहीं, सियासत गाली से नहीं और मुल्क जादू से नहीं चल सकता. आप सबका बहुत शुक्रिया.
एहसन इकबाल साहब।
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure my colleagues on the Treasury benches will agree with me that a free press is a fundamental component of a healthy democracy. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the space PTI was given in the media has a lot to do with why they are in government today. I'd like to bring to the attention of the government that the Pakistan Federal Union of Journalists are protesting against the lack of free press and media censorship in Naya Pakistan. We must learn to accept differences of opinion and constructive criticism. When we leave no room for dissent, we leave no room for progress. Will the government, Mr. Speaker, guarantee freedom of expression in Pakistan, freedom of the press in Pakistan, our fundamental rights under a democratic state? Governance is not a one-trick pony, Mr. Speaker. It is a series of thought-out decisions that once made must be implemented.